good afternoon, and welcome to Career Coaching and Mentoring class brought to you by Sedat Consult with support from Logo Brand. Please contact Logo Brand on 020-395-4216, 020-395-4216 for all your branding and graphic designing needs. Today we are discussing sexual harassment, how we can handle sexual harassment at the workplace. And our guest, for those of us who have been joining Career Coaching and Mentoring class, you know that Yvonne is not new to you. This is the second time she's gracing this session with her skills, knowledge, and presence. And we are privileged to have her here. Yvonne is a seasoned HR practitioner with over 12 years of experience in HR practice. She is a performance management expert and a philanthropist who runs an NGO that takes care of the less privileged in society. Yvonne is very passionate about helping people to ace interviews. She's also very passionate about driving performance at the workplace, and she loves technology and farming. And she also loves having fun. Yvonne, thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule to be with us once again. We are very grateful. We are very grateful. We know that it was such a short notice, yet you just jumped in and said, oh, it will be an honor. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Yvonne.
You're very welcome, Patricia. Very, very welcome.
Thank you. As always, let's start with the basics. When we talk of sexual harassment, what exactly are we talking about?
Okay, thank you, Pat. Sexual harassment is an unwelcome sexual advance or unwelcome request or any other unwelcome conduct of sexual nature for sexual favors. And sometimes people will say that the fact that it's sexual doesn't mean it's a harassment. And it is true, because even though it's of sexual nature, it is only when it is unwelcomed, only when I don't like it, that it becomes harassment. So you see people slapping certain colleagues' buttocks in the office, saying all sort of sexual things, and the person is okay. It's not harassment. However, there's a very thin line. So that is where corporate bodies are entreated to spell what constitutes sexual harassment, so that the person doesn't say, oh, when I touched the buttocks, he didn't say anything. But if the company has spelled it out that it constitutes an act of sexual nature, then whether the person is okay with it or not, it can become harassment. Whether it is welcomed or not, it can become harassment. And it's happening in the workplace, and formerly people were not reporting it, but now there are no jobs. So the little you do to somebody, the person can easily take you on and take you to court, slap some fine on you and the company, and make some money. So now people are reporting it. And I think it's also because we are getting more assertive women, not just women, let's say assertive workers now, who are not afraid to report issues when they happen. But still, unfortunately, a lot of it is not reported. So sexual harassment is an unwelcome sexual advance, favor, or request, or conduct that is not acceptable for both people. There's also this other aspect of sexual harassment, where the two people engaged in the sexual acts or action are okay, but me, the observer, I am not. It constitutes sexual harassment. So for instance, you are slapping Yvonne's buttocks. Yvonne is okay, but me, Cynthia, sitting on the side, I am not. I feel sexually offended. I can report sexual harassment. Yes.
Really? That's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting. Yes. When you are not the person that the advances is being made to.
Yes, but you feel sexually offended.
Okay.
You can report. Yes. Yes.
So the key word here is
unwelcome sexual conduct. Let's put it that way.
Okay. But if I'm okay with it? then
that's cool.
that's
Because
cool.
if I'm okay, I wouldn't report. If I'm okay, it won't be offensive. Okay. And that is where I was saying that we have to be careful, because sometimes as it starts, you are okay. And human nature, it graduates. So it reaches a point where you are not okay. And the person is confused why you are not reporting or complaining. Because you've been okay all these while. You should know that it's a building block. So from the onset, you need to express your displeasure and let that act cease as much as it can.
Wow. I'm very particular about the one that if I'm just around and somebody is touching you in a place that is offensive to
Yes.
me, then I can go ahead and report
Yes.
that
Yes,
there's a
yes.
sexual harassment.
We went for a training and it came out,
Okay.
UK-based training, and it came out that it is one aspect of sexual harassment that is being overlooked a lot. So the two of you are okay, but I am not. I am not. And I feel it's a sexual, it's against my sexual rights. You know, sexual harassment is a human rights issue anyway.
Yeah.
So I can still report you that this thing, you did this, and this is how it makes me feel in the office. So I think you guys should desist from it. Yeah.
And you mentioned also that the organization should have a policy. So even if I'm okay with this gentleman or this lady touching me, if the company's policy says that this is not allowed, then is it sexual? Even though I like it, I'm not
Yes,
complaining. Would it
it
still
is.
count as sexual harassment?
Yes, yes. You know, sexual harassment, it operates just like any other crime. Until it is reported, you think there's nothing covering it. So if once the person reports it, then the policy comes in to say that indeed this type of touch, this type of words you use, this inscription in your t-shirt, all of it constitutes sexual harassment, and therefore you've offended the policy, and so you have to be brought to book. But if you don't report because you are okay, especially, you think there's nothing to guide the act. Yes, yes. So if a company remembers to put it in that the observer who also feels offended can report, then definitely when you do it and I'm offended, I can report. Yes. So the policy must guide what constitutes an unwelcome sexual conduct and what is normal. For instance, in some offices, hugging is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now COVID has come, we don't hug, but in certain offices like my office, we just hug. You know, it's a family kind of environment. You see someone, oh, you just it's been a long time, how are you? So you see guys with pawns on their shoulders in the course of the day. We all understand, it's okay with us. Okay, but you and I know that even with hugging, there are degrees. A guy can hug you so much that you feel your breasts are about to deflate. That is sexual harassment. Yes. Some will squeeze your waist as if they want to bring every liquid in you out. That's also sexual harassment. So it's supposed to be a very professional engagement in the office. So the engagement touch the is going beyond the professional, then you may be veering off into sexual harassment, and one has to be careful.
So like you just said, it also depends on the culture of the organization. If, for example, in one particular
the culture of the company, yes,
hugging is not allowed, then if you hug somebody, it could be counted for sexual harassment.
Definitely, definitely. In one company I worked in, you don't even compliment women. So if a man, if I've done a new hairstyle, you don't tell me it's beautiful. If you've cut your hair, I don't tell you it's beautiful. I like this suit. No way. We didn't do that. So whether you like it or not, you keep it to yourself. You keep it to yourself. Unless you have a certain friendship with that colleague. You know, in the offices, we build friendships as well. So a friend of mine can tell me that, oh, Charlie, this your suit is nice. So it really fits you. That's fine. But if you don't have that relationship, don't go there. Because if you compliment and I feel offended and I take you on, you can be brought to book.
Wow.
And those things were put there so that we don't go beyond the suit is beautiful. I like the way it hugs your buttocks. And then before you see, something else is being said and done. So, and then also it helped, you know, in the offices, we have certain people, they are always on point with their fashion.
Yeah.
And then we have others who really don't care. So if you keep telling me I'm looking beautiful, I'm looking this, that person feels intimidated because you never say it to him or her. So now don't tell anybody so that we are all on the same playing field to operate. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what the principle.
That's revealing.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my next question is, who are the perpetrators mostly of sexual harassment? You know, the statistics show that not only
initially it used to be men.
Not only
Carry on, Pat.
not only women, but men can also be sexually harassed, except that the percentage of women who are sexually harassed is higher than the percentage of men who are sexually harassed. So who are actually the perpetrators mostly?
Okay. Mostly it's the men in high standing in the company, so the seniors, because you know the definition also has sexual favors. If you don't do this, I won't do that for you. Do this, then I'll do this for you. Sometimes the person doesn't even say it, but you know that if you accept, there's a certain benefit you get just because of the person's status within the company. Okay, and just like you said, we've also identified women now doing it. So they do it to the guys at their level or even a bit lower than them. Okay, asking for certain sexual favors and all that. But it's just like domestic violence. It is happening on both sides, but one side feels a bit, how can a man go and report that their boss, a woman is hitting on him? I mean, what did she do? Then you tell your friends that, oh, she touched my chest. But you this one you for enjoy. Why they report say it be harassment? This one will be a sexual harassment. So then the man decides that I won't talk about it. I won't say anything. But because it's sexual in nature, women are already disadvantaged because of how we've been built. Our breasts and buttocks is one of the things that really hits men. So that is where some people come in with the issue that the way she dresses to work, which I don't think has anything to do with it. But that's our physiology puts us at a disadvantage when it comes to the sexual harassment in the office. That's one of it. But typically it is women who suffer it because of how we are and how, you know, we live in a society. The office is a subsect of society. Yeah. So whatever happens to women out there happens to us in the office as well. At a certain stage, a woman may feel reluctant reporting sexual harassment. We've noticed this for middle managers and top management. The women they will never report that their bosses are hitting on them sexually. They may tell a friend or a spouse, but never go beyond that. Yes, but for the women in high position too, most of them hit on the younger guys as well. And there's a new trend happening now where we see even women on the same level hitting on guys at the same level, or guys hitting on the women at the same level, where both of them know there's no favor to be enjoyed. There is no special thing to gain, but they all feel that one feels because of probably maybe their association with senior managers. If you do, I'll tell manager A to do this for you. And this is the women's side. So such a woman has a certain power because of her relationship with a man in a higher or a woman in a higher level. So tells the guy at his level that if you do this, if you do that, I'll get person A on top to get this for you. So that is also there. Yeah.
Then it means, okay, go ahead.
We also say it affects more women than men too, because women easily show the signs of its effect, but a man can contain it for a long time. And once again, in Africa, it comes back to the culture of men don't cry. So abroad, it's easy for them to voice it out and say their issues and really pinpoint exactly what happened. But like I said, you are a man, then you go and tell your HR that Mrs. Yvonne Akpabli is hitting on you sexually. Okay, what did she do? The way she looks at me when I go to her office. In Ghana here. And then what again? Oh, the last time I sent a file, she used it to hit my bottles. And what again? Then immediately you are like, hey, let me stop talking now. They won't even see it as harassment on me. So this is where HR practitioners should also make sure that the sexual harassment policy has specific clear tenets of what constitutes sexual harassment. Sometimes we have what constitutes harassment, but we refuse to spell out what constitutes sexual harassment. And we can't blame HR practitioners entirely, because even the law is not so clear on it. It talks about indecent assault. Yes, it talks about sexual bodily contact. But this is where the judge will have the liberty to explain, or the lawyer to explain why that particular conduct is sexually offensive to their clients. But if the law was specific on it, listing what constitutes it, it will be easy for men to also report that I've been sexually harassed in the office. Yeah. And then the reporting too doesn't go well because of the nature of the whole thing. For instance, if you have a CEO who is being sexually harassed by a board member, where does he take it to? And the CEO is a man. He won't even talk. Yeah, he will just keep quiet. And so that all of that makes it difficult for us to get actual data. And even women who have suffered, they don't want to talk because they are afraid that of the various effects. We'll discuss it as we go on. But even apart from that fear, the worst one is that company B will know that this is how I am. And usually, even with rape, most of the time, people will ask, what dress was she wearing? What was she doing there at that time? Forgetting that it is not what happened, but it is the act itself is criminal, it's offensive. So the reporting is one thing that is not helping us to get enough data to let people know that the sexual harassment is affecting both men and women at various levels within a company.
Thank you so much. So, for example, what came out with the institution, Sex for Grade and all that. If a lecturer approaches me like, look, let's do it, and I'll give you A, and I accept, would we say that is harassment or is not?
There's something about power. Once you are in a position of advantage, you have to be careful the kind of requests and favors you make to those down there. So even if I accepted, I can still cite sexual harassment and say that I was coerced. I was, what was this other word? When it comes out, I would mention, but more like I didn't do it out of my own will. Because the relationship between us made it such that I was already disadvantaged just because I'm your student. The relationship between us made it such that if I don't accept, I don't know your next action and I'm not ready for it. Undue influence, that's the word. Undue influence. Yeah, so you unduly influenced me because of where you are. And if it goes to court, even if the person accepted, because of that power play, you'll be in hot soups. For instance, I'm a doctor and a nurse. Definitely, we know that there's that power play, or even doctor and a patient. Yes, I accepted you should do it, but you are at a better position than me and you pushed me into it. That is why when it happens, immediately the man or the perpetrator is higher. It is seen as a crime in the first place, because this power distance gives the superior a certain power that makes him unduly influences that person, coerces that person, or the person even acts out of fear. Sometimes the issue is that if I don't do it, he will tell the other lecturers, and then they will also start victimizing me. So let me just go and do it and get the grades and go my way.
Mm,
So,
mm,
yeah.
mm. So back to the workplace. If you look at, you mentioned some of them in passing, but let's specifically talk about the signs that I'm being harassed. What shows that I'm being harassed? When it, because of course you said that if it's not welcome, that is when it's harassment. But what are the things that a person uh, uh, should do or should not do that should tell me that no, this person is harassing me sexually?
Okay, so we have various types of sexual harassment. We have the gender harassment that happens to a man or a woman just because of the person's gender. Then we also have the seductive behavior where the person will do certain things. You just walk in and immediately looks at you and or whistles. All that can be seductive. We have sexual bribery. That's the solicitations. If you do this, if you do it, I'll give you this. If you don't do this, give you that. If you with sex as the issue.
Mm,
And then we have the sexual imposition. That the person forcefully does it. You enter the person's office, he locks it, and then and the sexual imposition is so clear, so it's easy to see it. But we have issues of leering actions like leering. The person enters and you look at the person in a certain way, like measuring the breast size and the buttock size immediately and going up. If it's a man, trying to look at his chest and torsos and all those things is there. And then some also telling tales of their sexual escapades in the office.
okay.
Oh, last Saturday I had a girl. Shay, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. Or even a lady also saying so. It's also the same. And then sexually explicit gestures. Some of them is a woman walks in and you do your hand like that. It's sexually explicit. Or you do this, it's sexually explicit. You've not said anything, but you've said enough for a whole book to be written. And then the whistles I've said about that. Pressure for dating. Oh, Friday, I want to take you out. The person is not accepting. You keep worrying the person, sending text messages, inviting the person out to a date. Dating is not by force. You have to leave the person. And then we have the unwelcome touches and hugs. Okay, you have some people, immediately they see you, they've opened their hands. And if you are not an assertive person to know that, yes, you've opened your hands, but I'll pass under your armpit, you are forced to just go into it and then get the hug. And then even the hugging, like I mentioned, there are some that squeeze the life out of you, whether you are a man or woman. You know that this is not an ordinary hug. We have the handshaking. Handshaking is a professional gesture. You shake and you go. But I've had experiences where a man shakes you and is shaking your hand and you feel your boobs are shaking, and that's where he's looking. He's not looking into your face and eyes. It constitutes sexual harassment. A discussion of your partner's sexual inadequacies in the office, or accidentally brushing sexual parts of people's bodies, passing behind the person. You are a man, you are passing behind a woman, and you are, I mean, so close that she can feel your crotch on her buttocks. It constitutes sexual harassment. And then certain sexually explicit words in your t-shirt, ready to fuck, blow job is also a job. I mean, it's sexual in nature. Or your screensaver in the office has some of these screen things and pictures. Sometimes too, it's a song, the parts of a song, like this song, Between the Sheets. And then you have that portion that describes what will happen under the sheets as your ringtone. And it rings in the office. Or you have Samini's, that song, but I've forgotten. I had one staff who used it as their ringtone. And when it rings, everybody looks at everybody's face like, what's going on here? Those are all some of it. And then stalking. Some people stalk. Then we have the quid pro quo, something for something, which is part of the sexual bribery I talked about.
Yeah.
And this one, some people will say that, he agreed, like you asked earlier. He agreed and I did this. No, there's nothing like agreement. If there's agreement, you should be careful to know that both of you are on the same level.
Okay.
When it comes to the power you have within the company. So that one is there. And then we have the steering, which is also part of the layering I mentioned. Then the expressive request for sex.
Okay.
And this one is usually the men. You, if I get you 3 rounds, you change within this office. Do you? By the time I finish with you, when you see me, you salute. It's all sexual harassment. It can constitute sexual harassment. You come to the office, a cleaner is cleaning. Then you say, hey, the way we put to the way you've done your bottles and you are mopping it. It is in nature, and the person can report you. And then sometimes your words. So for instance, if you tell somebody, I don't know whether we all understand tree, you say, Bedimechi. It is tree, which means come and be behind me or follow me. Okay. Then the person you say to, hey, Bedimechi at this time of the day. Then there's also this one creeping in, come again. Come again means I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat it? Now, when you say come again, the men are like, are you sure you can take it? Then you know that it means it's sexual in nature. And there's suggestive emails in the office, and then jokes. Some of them will say that Oba Slim said, yeah, style be anyhow I want to mean, yeah. Or hey, they want to mean, yeah. I mean, you may say it like a joke, but when it is in the office environment, you need to be very, very careful. Especially if you don't have any kind of extended friendship with that person. Because if you are my friend in the office, I can discuss so many things with you.
Yeah.
But if I'm not your friend, then I have to be careful. But even with the friendship, I try to tell people within the office setting, be very, very careful. Conversations build on. So today we've said A, and you've realized that Yvonne is okay with A. Tomorrow when she says C, I can't tell her no, because when she said A, I was okay. She said B, I was okay. So definitely she's adding C. And then we have the touching proper, where the person will touch you. Some will just sway your hair like this and put it, some will take a hair from your face and put it at the back. Yes, you will think it's innocent, something casual, but it's the person is building on something. And then there's the expressive one, which is either rape or sexual assault, which is also as a form of sexual harassment that happens in the office. So these are the types and the means that it can show.
Wow. That means that we have to be very, very careful. You might think that, oh, I'm just being nice, I'm just complimenting the person, but if the person doesn't like it, yes, and complains, then you have an issue on your hands.
Yes.
Right. So then let's look at the causes. I know that you mentioned in your submissions that sometimes some of the men say the way the person has dressed. I mean, the person has dressed so, seductively, and then trying to seduce the men here. So it's what you ask for. That is all you are getting. Beyond this, what are the causes of sexual harassment within the workplace?
It's because of people's nature. I mean, there are certain people who think once they've risen to a certain level within a company, they should get away with everything. And like I said, the office is a subset of society. Definitely. So what makes men in society think that once there's a woman near them, they have access to them, or once there's a young man around them, they should have access? It's the same thing in the office. The fact the woman's dressing has nothing to do with it, the man's dressing has nothing to do with it. But what we advise is that we are human beings. Yeah. Just as even though rape is rape, whether I was wearing a pants alone or mini skirt, we say that it was one of the things that brought the person's mind to the fact that they can do this. We communicate with how we dress. So in the office setting, be as professional as you can. Yes, there are some people, they can't hide it. There are some women, their hips are such that no matter what they wear, it will show. There are some women, their breasts are such that no matter what they wear, the cleavage will form. I have a friend like that. You can sew the cover unless you do polar neck. Apart from that, no matter what you do, it will show. That's how she's been created. Okay, there are certain men, they don't do lifting, but they have the broad chest, they have the six-pack, they are hairy. Yes, they are attractive and handsome, but that is not the grounds for it. The grounds for it. I believe that one of the main causes for sexual harassment in the office place is power. The fact that I have the power and I can overcome. The fact that I have the power and you report to me. The fact that I have the power, which gives me access. That's also the other part, the access to certain things, especially information. That makes me more powerful. And of that, I'll do this to you. And the access bit is even worse for same level sexual harassment. So we are on the same level, but I have access to this system. If I don't open it, you can't do your work. I'm touching you, you are saying I shouldn't touch you. Tomorrow you see how you do the work. You keep asking me, I tell you the system is down. The system is down. I've opened it for Akosua. And so how come Akosua is working and me, I cannot work? Then I send you a small text message, you know what to do. Then that's it. So power and access, these are some of the causes. And then also the culture of the company. You know, culture evolves.
Yeah.
So if we don't make practical efforts to make these changes within the office, as I said, a hugging now proceeds to become a more intimate hugging. An innocent professional hugging becomes more intimate. An innocent handshaking becomes a breast shaking exercise. So there's the need, the culture can also drive this positively or negatively. Okay. And then there's the individual natures that also can cause this to happen. The way you talk, your language can make people realize that they can have access. You make submissions that make them understand. You don't mind. You don't care. It will happen. Okay. When it happens, you don't express your displeasure. It will happen. Okay. And then we come to the closer one we know, the dressing. You are a man. You have very good broad chest, some hair on your chest. You open your two buttons. You put Yesu Ascendia on it, and you come to the office. I mean, body no be wood. We shouldn't forget that. The person will pinch one, you didn't complain. Pinch two, you didn't complain. He will proceed. And then you wear the short sleeve, the muscle is showing in the hand, and then he tells you, come and help me with my tie. She's watching how you are changing the tie. So also masculine, also attractive. Before you see, the next time she invites you to her office for something, and it's different. The women too. There are certain men, when they realize today your skirt is short, that is where they will drop something on the floor and tell you to come and pick it for them. So we should always know that even though we have the power and access and those two being the main causes of sexual harassment, the way, and then the culture, yes, that's the third one. We should know that our dressing, our verbal and non-verbal communications patterns can also be causes for that. You bear with me, in the offices, there are certain people you can never take certain jokes to. It's for fun, but you can't, because they've established certain boundaries. Yeah. They are hardworking, they are open, but you can't take certain conversations to them. They've built those boundaries, yes. So you as a person, you should also have certain boundaries that will make people know that when it comes to sexual things in nature, with Yvonne, I can't cross this boundary. When they cross mistakenly, correct them that you've crossed. I don't like this, so that they stop it. Because you know that, like I said, the office is a subset of society. We have this slave queen mindset. So even in the office, they may be seeing you as a slave queen. Meanwhile, you are not a slave queen. You are just a fashionable lady who likes to have fun. They have coupe guys. You are not a coupe guy. You just love your body. And then that's it. Sometimes it's even the perfume you wear for that particular day. You enter the office and the person remembers a loved one, and then he makes an advance that day. You don't talk. and then it continues. So those are some of the causes. Yes, but the main one are the three: the power, the access, and then the culture.
The culture. So particularly with the culture, if we allow it, especially if people express their displeasure about certain acts, and then you are the manager, you are the HR person, they come to you and nothing is done, then it will look as if it is acceptable. And so people will begin to not, continue doing it, and they will not stop. If it continues like that, then it's as if the culture is evolving and people can say anything to anybody. They complain and nothing is done about it. So it means that as HR professionals or as leaders within the organizations, we have a role to play, whether to allow or not allow some of these things within the organization or at the workplace.
Yes, yes. And it starts, like you and I know, from policy. What does our policy say?
Yeah.
What is allowed? What is not allowed? And what is not allowed? How do we penalize people when they do it? Yes, yes. So
Exactly. Just to remind you once again that Career Coaching and Mentoring class is brought to you by Sedat Consult with support from Logo Brand. Please contact Logo Brand on 020-395-4216, 020-395-4216 for all your branding and graphic designing. Now, because we are in Ghana, we know the employment relationship and the workplace issues and organization is governed by the Labor Act. Now, what does the labor law say on sexual harassment or about sexual harassment? Says that even if my organization, I complain and nobody, does anything about it, I can walk to the Labor Commission and present my case, and I'll be, listened to and given fair judgment.
okay, so we have section 1563 and 175 that deals with sexual harassment. It is not explicitly stated, but
Okay.
it is there where it's. Let me try and see if I can get the specific submissions for. We also have the criminal code, the Ghana Criminal Code, section 103. That also talks about sexual, and like I said, it talks about indecent assault and all those this thing. So section 15 is saying this, that you can terminate employment based on misconduct by the worker. And then there's 15B says by the worker, a worker can terminate the employment. That's the worker or the employee. Employer can terminate based on ill treatment or sexual harassment.
Okay.
So it's there. But like I said, we have to still use the criminal code to really understand what constitutes the sexual harassment that this section of the law is talking about. Yeah. Section 63 also talks about when one can terminate employment or report the employer for sexual harassment. And like I mentioned, the section 103 of the criminal code talks about indecent assault, which includes sexual bodily contact with other persons without their consent, or sexual violation of the body of that person in a manner that is not amounting to carnal knowledge or unnatural carnal knowledge, but the person really doesn't like it. Okay. And you can face imprisonment of at least 6 months.
6 months.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Moving on. Let's look at what sexual harassment does to a person's career.
Sexual harassment affects us a lot, but people don't know. And when I was researching for this session, then it brought certain things to mind to understand why certain things are going on and happening the way it is. You know, you can have a staff, very hard-working person, then all of a sudden the person starts making mistakes, not meeting deadlines. It could be one of the reasons. Okay, so we have the psychological effects. Okay, psychological effects, and this one can express itself in depression, anxiety, shock. You have a person come to work, they are all working in an open office. A staff in the department walks in, then she's, I don't know how the English word to use, or the person walks in and she immediately bows down, and that's the end till break time. She won't even get up to wee, she won't do anything, she won't talk, she won't contribute. And then there's confusion as well. The person becomes confused and wonders, what is it? What is it about me that is causing it? And this all affects the person's work delivery. There's the issue of feeling powerless, especially where the company doesn't have systems that enable people to report and get the issue addressed. There's anger, there's embarrassment, there's guilt, and the worst one is there's self-blame.
Yeah.
And the person blames him or herself for that, and then starts becoming isolated. So you do office party and he's sitting in one corner. He won't dance, he won't drink, he won't do anything. And if you don't know that, let's say person A is the perpetrator, and then at the staff party, you invite person A to dance with Kojo, then already you've done something bad to the person. Yeah. And then we have the career related effect where there's decreased job satisfaction, because especially if it's with the person's boss, no matter what the person does, the boss will not appreciate it. Performance ratings will keep going down, making the person look like he's not performing. Then there's absenteeism. Madam, I'm not feeling well today, I cannot come. He's lying, she's lying, she's just trying to avoid that person. Or you notice that the person starts going to the hospital often. You know, sometimes stress cannot be immediately reduced. So they will say malaria, tomorrow they say typhoid, tomorrow they say chest pains, tomorrow they say cold. So it could be a sign that the person is sexually being harassed and is using that as an escape. And then their performance evaluation drops. Then they also withdraw from work related activities. So you are doing aerobics and I have tummy aches, I can't do it. You are doing kenke party, I don't eat corn, or I don't eat pepper. They always have an excuse just not to be part of what is going on because they feel dissatisfied and then they are not happy. And then sometimes suddenly the person comes to you that they are going to school, or they want you to change their department or their unit. And then also there's the general decrease in productivity. And then to the company, such a person, and usually it is the singles, whether a man or woman, will resign. The research was saying singles because for married people, you know, we don't just change careers. You have to talk to your husband, look at the family budget, where you are going, can they support? Or then your husband will say, I know it is like this, but you stay till we get a better. But for the singles, they don't have anybody to account to. So some of them, and this is usually the men, they would be coming to work normally and then they just say, me cry, why am I suffering like this? They just bring their letter one day, act of faith. They don't have a new job. They don't think they will get immediately, but they are tired of the sexual issues and they just want to drop because they can't tell anybody what is happening to them. People will not understand and appreciate it. So it also manifests itself in turnover rates for the company. People will leave. And that is where, if you are an HR person, when one particular department, they keep resigning, you should find out the reasons. You may not get the sexual harassment well because people may not talk about it, but find out the reason why they are leaving. And if you've built relationships with them, it's easy to even delve deeper to understand how it is going. So that's for the workplace. For the individual, the mental health related issues, and then for the office, it will manifest in absenteeism, it will manifest in decreased productivity, to manifest in decreased job satisfaction, and then also in turnover. And then also sometimes it manifests in errors. The person starts making a lot of mistakes. Simple things that you think the person should know or do, then he's making mistakes and errors, and it shows that the person is distracted. Okay. Now the other aspect too is that it may manifest in project. You know, we work in teams. So one person is not achieving, and it affects the department. It affects the department. So the department cannot also deliver. And then to the individual, it can also lead consequently to loss of the job. I love my company. I love my job. But this particular person I have to leave. If I don't leave, the consequence may not be good for me. I have to leave. And when we are talking about sexual harassment in the workplace, usually we look at workers, but even some clients can do it, and it is work related. Yes. Visit a client for a certain something to meet your target, and the client is asking for certain things or touching you in certain places. Because of you to your target or the relationship of the client to the company, you are afraid to voice it out. So that is also there that we need to look at. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is really revealing. So what I'm gathering then is that even it affects the organization itself in terms of the brand or what they will be known for. Because if people know that in this organization, sexual harassment is allowed and people just pick on you without, and you complain and nothing is done about it. No matter how good you think you are, people who are serious-minded people may not want to work with you, and you may lose talent.
Yes, our exited employees are the adverts out there when it comes to employer brand. So those within the company may not really be your brand, but the one who has left. So somebody sees the person and says, "Oh, I've seen a vacancy from company B. I want to apply." Hey, anyway, there you don't even last for 1 month. Or they tell you, I remember there was one company I was trying to apply to. They told me I'm too slim. The friend that I was speaking to, that I've seen it, and I said, "Oh, fear with the a woman with body." I said, "Oh, really?" Wow. So that is the image in the staff, the exited staff's mind. It could have been created by just one executive, just one person, but that's the mindset. And it could also be engraved because when the person looks at the people working within the company, she sees that trend. So we should make sure that when the issues are reported, we deal with it, because sexual harassment affects the company. Apart from the brand and reputation, you may lose money. You are taken to court and you have to pay fine. Yes, you pay a fine because the perpetrator works within the company. It's your agent.
Yeah.
You see, an agency law, the person is standing in for you. So whatever the person does is ascribed back to you. So you have to, you lose money there. Your productivity falls, which also reflects in less profit or less revenue. Then it affects the individual who is going through the whole horror of sexual harassment. It affects the person's mental well-being. It affects the person's career. It affects the person's job prospects out there, because there's also the fear of coming back for reference, especially if it is that same manager who will give the reference. The person is afraid, what will the person write for me? So let me just stay. So it's very serious. Yeah.
Great. So that may be my final question. When it comes to sexual harassment, if I'm being sexually harassed, how do I handle it? How do I go about it, male or female? Because we now know that men are also sexually harassed.
Yeah.
How should we handle it? You know.
Yeah. First and foremost, you need to let the person know you don't like it, and be emphatic and straight to the point. You know, there's this thing there, oh jai, oh jai. That is not saying you don't like it. Look the person in the face. Kwame, I don't like this thing you are doing. Let this be your first and last. If you
Yes.
do it again, I'll take it up. Then the person knows you don't like it. And then document it. Write it in your diary. On 1st November 2020, Patricia touched my bottles near the washroom. I didn't like it. I told her to stop, and she agreed. Then you have it there, so that when there's a second touch, you can have something to show that this is true. Because usually if it is just the first touch and you are complaining, the person will say it was a mistake. But you and I know that when you repeat a mistake, sometimes it's deliberate, especially looking at the nature of whatever happened there. So you have to document it. And then the documentation, if it is not the first time, don't just document it in your diary and leave it. Inform whoever is in your office that is responsible for sexual harassment issues. And usually it is the HR that is the first point of call. So, Mommy HR or Papa HR, this is what Kwesi has done. I didn't like it. I've told him. And I'm mentioning Kwesi, the guys here will think it's an Ama that is doing it. We are having men hitting on men.
Yeah.
It is also happening. Yes, they are hitting on them, you know. So you say it that he did it to me. I didn't like it. I told him that I don't like it because he did the same thing on this day and he's done it again. So I told him if he does it again, I'll report. So I'm coming to tell you. And then the HR will take it up. So document it. If you can even have pictures to support. Some companies have cameras all over. Just remember the date and time. IT will bring it out to vindicate you. But if you can't use camera or anything, and please don't set up your phone for it, because that one can be said to have been doctored, to have been acted here on it, unless it's another staff who saw the act happening and took pictures or videos. But you yourself, you may not be able to use it well. So document it. And like I said, after you've documented it, make it clear again to the person that it is not a welcome thing. You don't like it. You don't like it. And then report according to your policy. If you don't have any policy in place, still report to the HR. I'm saying report according to policy because the policy will spell out what constitutes sexual harassment and what should be done. So per the policy, section 14 says that if you touch my bottles in the office, it constitutes sexual harassment. Mabna has touched my bottles. I told her I didn't like it. So it means it's not welcome. So it constitutes sexual harassment, so that the person will deal with it. If you see that, if it is the HR himself or herself,
I was coming to that.
that is doing the hitting, you talk to your lawyer, the lawyer in the company. If you have a head of legal, you do. If you don't have an in-house legal person, you talk to the CEO. Make sure you tell someone in-house before you take it out to the Labor Commission or the courts. Yes, because with sexual harassment, just like with any other sexual crimes, your evidence must be very conk, or else you will lose. And then you yourself make a change. This is where you do an introspection to find out, am I the one leading on? Is it because of how I talk? Is it because of how I act? Is it because of how I dress? Is it because I've not set boundaries and so anybody thinks they can cross? You start making amends. And I want to mention here that sometimes you can make the amends where boo-boo to work. It will still come on because of the three issues we mentioned earlier: the power, the access,
and then culture.
Then when it still keeps happening, you know that it's time to move on. Then you do it. And then other times you have to also use how do we, like, diversionary tactics. So let's say you are a cleaner. So it's because he comes to work very early to see you cleaning. So you can tell another cleaner that I want you to take this office, let me take that office. So the person doesn't come to meet you, or you switch the times. Okay, you try to divert. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. There are times, honestly, there is nothing you can do. The person is there, your team, you go and come, is there. And such people, they know. Typically, it may be someone who is linked to the CEO or the board member. And so he knows that, like, if it is the founder's child, or even if it's the founder that is the CEO, where are you going to?
And
He's
he's
there,
the one perpetrating the act.
and he's the one perpetrating. So that one, you need enough evidence to take the person to court, because apart from the power distance between you and him in the office, on the outside too, he's powerful because he has money. So you need to also know that. But with the reporting too, we tell people, don't just tell friends, oh, Yvonne touched me here. Can you believe Yvonne said this to me? No, they won't do anything. It will become gossip. And then when the real deal happens later on, people will be like, oh, every day this person is touching you. Don't mind this. So tell the people who have the power to act on it, the HR, the lawyer, the CEO, tell them. If it is the CEO in our policy, if it is the CEO that is perpetrating, the policy allows you to go to a board member.
Okay.
Yes. So it must be cascaded upwards, because if, for instance, it's my boss that is doing it, my boss is HR, where am I taking it to? Or my boss is the lawyer, where am I taking it to? So you need to have, the company should have the reporting line such that it doesn't cripple the victim when the person perpetrating is one of the power players. There should always be a higher level for the person to go to. So for us, if it is the HR, you go to the lawyer and the CEO. If it is the lawyer, you go to the HR and the CEO. If it is the CEO, you go to the board and the lawyer. Yes.
So this means that the company should have a clear policy on that. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to handle this. If the policy is not clear as to even who to go to when you are being sexually harassed, then it's going to create a problem for you. And especially if the person is your supervisor or is the CEO, and you can't just pack and leave, because you are thinking about the family that are dependent on you.
Butter issues, bread and butter.
Yes.
You can't just go.
Because there are a lot of people depending on you for their daily bread, for their education, for their health needs and all that. You think about all this, then you are there. Let me keep quiet and suffer. And then, it's as if there is no hope for you. But if it's like that, then I'm afraid, should we continue to suffer because we don't want to lose our jobs, or we can just quit and take the person on? That is when you have gathered enough evidence that you can go to court and then, get some money to start your own business.
I know, right? You slap some 20,000 on them and use it to do something.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much, Yvonne. This has been very insightful. If you are a lady or even a gentleman, remember that a lot also depends on you. Let your no be no, because sometimes the men are under the impression that if I say no, I mean yes, as a lady. And so even if I'm saying exactly.
And you will continue.
You are not firm enough. It means that you like it, so the person will continue doing it. So be firm and stay straight without mincing words. And this one, doesn't matter whether you are the cool person, you don't like talking. Please, when it comes to that, you just have to talk and set yourself free. Because I like, when I was young in my career, I like wearing trouser suit a lot. So there was a time I just decided to wear skirt suit. So the skirt was a little above my knee. And all the guys, hey, now we are first and now I'm trousers. So it sets me thinking, okay, so it means that so I should be very careful and strong and tell them that, look, I don't like that. Like the adjustment you spoke about. If it is a wearing of the short skirt that is causing it, maybe you would want to have a change of wardrobe and see what you can do about it. Thank you, Yvonne. Maybe your final words. I think there's no question. So please give us your final words as to how.
My final words is that sexual harassment is real out there, COVID has helped us. Now people are working from home, so the physical aspect is down, but we hear certain people sending the messages and the emails still to harass us. And then sexual harassment can take place between a man and a woman, with the man up and the woman down the ladder, or the woman up and the man down the ladder. It can also happen between women, two women, a woman up and a woman down. That's the lesbianic tendencies.
Yeah.
It can also happen between two men. It happens. And then there's the strange one that happens with two people on the same level. Also there. Report it. Gather evidence. Most of the time, it's the evidence bit that makes the perpetrator continue, because you don't have evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, he touched my breast. Where? Oh, how? Oh, this. Then it becomes like you have very bad mind. But this one doesn't constitute sexual harassment. So gather evidence and talk to people, appropriate people. Don't just talk to friends and go. Every friend has a friend. Before you see it become a gossip in the workplace, talk to HR, add your evidence, talk to the lawyer, add your evidence. When it persists, go the full length to get it addressed, because you may just experience the touch. Another lady or another man may be raped.
Yeah.
And that is the worst form of abuse we can find in the workplace. So we need to work on it. And then those of us who are practitioners should make sure that we put together appropriate sexual harassment policies, which spells out what constitutes sexual harassment in the workplace and how it will be penalized if it is undertaken. So these are my few words. And thank you very much once again, Pat.
So much. Let's meet again next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.